Good morning, friends. If you don't know me, my name is Juliana, also known as the Loopy Lady. As you saw by the title, today we are going to be making an easy checkered pot holder. Today is Saturday and it's a little bit foggy outside, so I wanted to cozy up on the couch and crochet this morning. I have about an hour and a half. We're gonna go thrifting and the thrift store is open at 10, so I want to get some crocheting done before we go thrifting. I wanted to show you guys how I make this checkered pot holder. I like to use it to take hot things out of the oven or take the lids off of pots when I'm cooking on the stove, or even just setting a hot pot or bowl or something on it. It protects your hands or the counter or whatever you're going to be putting that hot thing on. So not only is this functional, but it's super cute. You can hang it up in your kitchen and it adds a little pop of color, and it's customizable, so you can pick whatever colors you like to go with the colors that are in your kitchen. Plus it's reversible, so one side is going to be checkered and the other side is going to be solid, but we still have these little frilly edges, so it still looks cute. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you're using cotton yarn, because if you use acrylic, it can melt under heat. So you want to use cotton yarn, so that way we don't melt our yarn when we put something hot on it. Today I'm going to be using Loops and Threads Classic Cotton, and I'm going to be using some Valentine's Day colors because Valentine's Day is 2 weeks away and I'm going to be doing a little market, so I want to make another pot holder for that. I'm going to be using the colors Burgundy and Bubblegum. And then we're also going to need a 4mm hook, and of course you're going to need a pair of scissors and a little tapestry needle. If you have a measuring tape, it'll help too, because I'll give you some measurements as we go throughout as well. You won't necessarily need a full skein of yarn. This is how much I had left of the brown and tan yarn from that pot holder, but you will need most of the skein. I got my blankie on and I got my notes here, so let's get started. So personally, I like to start with the dark color because we're going to use the dark color on the solid side and we're going to use the light color as the frillies on the edge. So I like to have my dark colors in the corners of the pot holder. So we're going to start with the dark, whatever dark color you like, or you can start with whatever you want. I mean, it's your pot holder. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to start with my burgundy color since it's my darker color, and I'm actually going to do a foundation chain instead of a regular chain, but you can totally just do a regular chain. I will link a video down below on how to do a foundation chain because I don't feel comfortable teaching it quite yet. I like to use it because it's a little bit stretchier than a regular chain, and personally for like squared things, I just think that it looks nicer. And also when I do my color changes, it makes it a little bit easier to change the colors when I'm using a foundation chain versus a regular chain, in my opinion. We're gonna have 20 foundation chains in total. Each box of color is going to be 4 foundation chains. So I'm gonna start with my burgundy color and then I'm going to do 4 foundation chains. But because we're color changing, before I finish the 4th foundation chain, I'm going to change colors on the last pull through. So now that we've color changed, we are going to do another 4 foundation chains. Now, because the boxes are pretty small, I'm going to carry my other color with my stitches. So as I'm chaining, I'm going to carry my burgundy over. I like to do this every 2 or 3 stitches. It's up to you on how you like to float, or if you want to cut them all off and weave in the ends, that more power to you. That's not for me, but and then once again, before you finish your 4th stitch of the 2nd color, you're going to change your colors to go to the 1st color again. So I'm back to burgundy. I'm going to do another 4 foundation chains. I'm going to repeat this until I have 20 foundation chains in total, or 3 sets of 4 of the 1st color and 2 sets of 4 of the 2nd color. Now, it's okay if your edge on here is pretty messy because we are going to single crochet over all of the edges. So don't worry about your color changes being too clean. Don't be afraid to just go slow when you're doing your color changes. I still struggle with doing my color changes, so I go pretty slow on this foundation chain. Now on the last set of 4 foundation chains, we will not have to carry our 2nd color yarn over because we are just going to turn and use the same yarn. Get to my 4th, and then I am going to chain 1 regular. Now, if you're doing a regular chain and not a foundation chain, you're going to chain 21. If you're floating your yarn, you're going to have a wrong side and a right side to this pot holder. The way that we crocheted the foundation chain is going to be the right side, and now that we're turning our work and going down the other side, we're now going to be working on the wrong side. So we're going to want to float our yarn on the side that's closest to us on this row. So after I chain 1 and turn, I'm going to single crochet 4 with that same color, and in this case I'm doing it in the burgundy color. On my 4th single crochet, I'm going to color change. When I color change, I want to make sure that the ends of my yarn are coming towards me and not sticking out facing away from me. I want them going towards me because now I am looking at the wrong side of my work. So now I'm working with my bubblegum color, and I'm going to single crochet 4, floating my yarn, because that's what I'm choosing to do. When I'm floating my yarn now, I'm going to be floating it every 2 stitches. That's what I like to do. Before I end the last stitch, I'm going to be changing colors. My hands are cold this morning, struggling. I'm just repeating the same pattern until I get to the end. So just 4 single crochet in each color, and just make sure that on your last single crochet, the 4th one, you're just switching colors. For these rows right now, for this end color, we're not going to be floating our yarn because we are still going to use the same color when we turn. This is how it should be looking after row 2. We're going to chain 1 and then we're going to turn again. And we're just going to repeat for this row. Now our wrong side is going to be facing away from us, and we're going to be looking at our right side. We're going to float our yarn on the side that is facing outwards. I'm going to start my last stitch and finish it by color changing, and I'm leaving the tails away from me this time. All right, I'm on my corner color. I'm not going to float my yarn for this row. I'm just going to go to the end, and then I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn, and same thing. Now that we've turned, the wrong side is facing us, so we're going to carry our yarn on the side facing us this time. We should be on row 4 at this point. I've made it to the last color change. This time I am going to float my yarn to the end because we are going to be color changing at the end of row 4. And before I finish the last stitch of the row, I'm going to change my color to bubblegum. I'm going to chain 1. Your chain 1 should be in the next color. It should not be in the same color as the burgundy. So my chain 1 is in bubblegum. And then we're going to turn and we're going to single crochet 4, floating the other color back over. Before we finish our last stitch, we're going to change colors. Now the wrong side is facing away from me this round. So I'm going to leave my tails on that side, and I'm going to change my color to burgundy. Now we have completed our box of color. We have 4 stitches wide and 4 rows tall. Now we're going to have the opposite color on each box to create the little checker pattern. Now we're on the last box of color, and we won't have to float our yarn over here because we're going to be using the same color when we turn our work. So I have bubblegum going to the end of my row this time, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And then 4 single crochet going back the other way. Now I have the wrong side facing me. When I color change on my last stitch, I'm going to leave my ends facing me. Now I'm just going to continue with this same color pattern until row 8. All right, I've come to my last box. On row 8, I have 4 more single crochets to finish my row. I am going to float my yarn. I have the wrong side facing me. So I'm going to float my yarn on this side of my work. Before we complete the last stitch, we're going to color change to the opposite color. And then I'm going to chain 1. Your chain 1 should be in your next color. And then I'm going to turn my work. Now I have my yucky side facing away from me, and I'm going to be working in my burgundy color. And I'm going to float bubblegum back over to the next box. So once again, this row should have the opposite color on the opposite box. We're just going to continue this color changing until we have 5 boxes high. So we should have 3 boxes of your dark color and 2 boxes of your light color tall, or a total of 20 rows. Your last row is going to look exactly like your first row when you end. I will meet you back at the end when I get to my last set of boxes. All right, I'm on my last 4 stitches for the last box. I'm going to just complete them as normal. That took me around an hour to do, I think. I'm just gonna fasten this completely off. So I chained 1, and then I'm gonna cut my yarn, pull that baby through, and I'm gonna cut my pink yarn as well. Here's our checkered panel. It's super cute. I love these colors together. This is perfect for Valentine's Day. Right now my panel is measuring 6.25 inches wide and 5.5 inches tall. You should have 5 boxes horizontally and 5 boxes vertically. Like I said, I'm gonna go thrifting and run some errands today, and then I will catch up with you and start the solid panel. All right, we're back. Our bellies are full. We have some caffeine in us, and we're gonna finish this project. We left off on finishing up our checkered panel, so now we're gonna start on our solid panel. We are going to make a foundation chain as well for this one. If you made a regular chain for the checkered panel, then you wanna do a regular chain for your solid panel as well. I did a foundation chain for my checkered one, so I'm gonna do a foundation chain for my solid panel. Whatever width your checkered panel is, that's how long you want your chain to be. So I am going to make my chain 6.25 inches long. Because I did a foundation chain, I'm going to chain one regular at the end, and then I'm going to turn. So I should have 17 foundation chains and one regular chain. And then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to just work one single crochet in each stitch all the way back. And so at the end of row 2, I should have 17 single crochet. I got to the end of row 2, I have 17 single crochet, and then I'm going to chain one and turn. After my second row, I always like to make sure my measurement is correct, because sometimes it can either be longer or shorter than your chain. So I always like to go back and just double check that this is the correct length. It looks good. If you don't have a tape measure, you can also just measure it to your checkered panel, because you basically just want to make a square to be the same size as your checkered panel. So I'm just going to keep going back and forth with single crochets and chaining one at the end and turning. I want to do enough rows to make it 5.5 inches tall. It's currently 12:50 right now, so we'll see how long this solid panel takes me. All right, so it's 1:09, so that only took me about 30 minutes to do. Here is the little solid panel. As you can see, this is pretty see-through, so that's why I do 2 panels and single crochet them together, because then it's double-sided and thicker and it won't burn your hand at all. Now we're going to work on attaching the 2 panels together. I'm going to weave in my ends on my checkered panel as well as my one end on my solid panel, and then I will be back. I got all my ends weaved in on my checkered panel, and then I got my first end weaved in on my solid panel. I also forgot to mention I did 23 rows in total to get to my 5.5 inch measurement. I didn't finish off my solid panel. I'm just going to go back and I'm going to finish my last single crochet as if I'm going to do a color change. So before I finish that stitch, I'm going to add in my bubblegum color. And I like to single crochet the 2 panels together with the lighter color. Just like on this brown and tan one, we're going to end up doing the frillies with the lighter color. So I'm going to single crochet with the lighter color, or my color number 2, which is going to be bubblegum. So I'm going to finish off my stitch by color changing, and then I'm going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work here. Now we're going to be attaching the 2 panels together. I'm going to take the wrong side of my checkered panel, and I'm going to put it facing the solid panel. So this is the right side facing out, and then I have my solid panel on the other side up against the wrong side of the checkered panel. I'm going to single crochet these 2 panels together, and what I do to do that is I insert my hook into the solid panel stitch and then insert my hook into the first stitch of the checkered panel, pull through both stitches, and then complete my single crochet. One main issue with this is that my solid panel only has 17 stitches and my checkered panel has 20 stitches. So at some point I'm going to have to do a decrease only on the checkered side. I'm going to stick my hook into my solid panel stitch, stick the hook into the checkered panel stitch, and pull up a loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull just through one loop, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the same stitch on the solid side, but insert into the next stitch on the checkered side and pull up another loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So it's like a decrease, but only on one side. Because I have 17 stitches on the solid panel and 20 on the checkered panel, that means I'm going to have 3 decreases at some point during my row. Okay, we have the two panels attached together on the top side, so you should have 17 single crochet. After you have 17 single crochet across, we're going to chain 1, and then we're not going to turn our work this way, we're going to turn our work this way. So now we're going to be working down the side of our panels instead of the top. Now we're just going to put a single crochet through both panels to attach them on the end of each row. Just remember, it's okay to take this part slow, and if you want to look on your solid side, find the end of your row and go to the other side and find the end of your row and make sure that you're putting that single crochet through the same row. That's okay as well. Just remember that if you have more rows on your solid side, that you're gonna have to figure out where your decreases are gonna go, just like we did on the top. If you need help keeping your panels straight on the edge, you can put a stitch marker on the opposite corner of your row and put it through both panels so that way it holds the corners together. That way your panels stay straight together and you don't continue your single crochet row and realize that one of your panels is like off and not straight with the other panel. I ended up with 23 single crochet down the side. Now that I've gone down the side, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm gonna go down the bottom of our project now. Another thing to note is that we want to have the same amount of stitches on the top side as the bottom side. So up here we have 17 single crochet. So on our bottom side, when we go across, we want to make sure that we have 17 single crochet at the end of our row. Once again, it makes it a lot easier if you put a stitch marker through both corners of your panels, so that way it keeps it straight and you don't all of a sudden have one panel that is off center from the other panel. I'm at the end of my row. I have 3 side single crochet together. I have 17 single crochets across on my bottom row, and then I'm going to chain 1 at the end, and we're going to turn it to where we're working on the last side. Because this other side had 23 single crochet, we're going to put 23 single crochet on this side. All right, we made it to the end of the row. Last thing that I'm going to do for this row is I am going to chain 1. I'm going to slip stitch into our very first single crochet. Now you should have something that looks like this, where all of our sides are attached. We have the checkered panel on one side and the solid panel on the other side. We're going to continue in our color number 2, which in my case is bubblegum. And I am not going to turn my work. I'm just going to chain 3 from here. And then I'm going to double crochet 3 more into that same spot. So you should be double crocheting into your very first single crochet from when we started attaching the 2 panels together. So after that little cluster, I have a chain of 3 and 3 double crochet in the same stitch. And in the next stitch, I'm going to slip stitch. So this should create a little shell or like a little frill. Then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch, and I'm going to double crochet 4. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to slip stitch. This is just going to create the little frillies on our border. We should now be going into our 5th single crochet, and we're going to be double crocheting 4 into that stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. I continue this pattern until I reach the end of the row. So after you do your 4 double crochet in your last stitch of that side, you're going to place your slip stitch in the chain 1 corner. We're going to turn to the side, and we're going to put our first cluster of double crochet into the first stitch on that side. If you end up with an odd number of single crochet on each side, you should be able to make it to where the clusters are in the first and last stitches of each side. That way your slip stitch between clusters is in that chain 1 space in the corner. I'm going to continue the pattern of 4 double crochet and a slip stitch in every other stitch until I get to the very last cluster, and I will meet you back here. I have done all the sides of my frills. Just as a reference, on my long sides, I have 12 clusters, And on my short sides, I have 9 clusters. In total, I have 42 clusters of 4 double crochet. So just as a little reference, just in case you need it. After I complete my very last cluster, I'm gonna finish off by slip stitching into the base of my original chain. So once I've slip stitched to end the row, I'm gonna fasten off. So I'm gonna chain 1 and we're going to leave enough to weave in an end. I'm gonna weave in my final end and then I will meet you back to go over what we just made. All right, you guys, we have come to the end of this video. We have finished our pot holder. It is so cute. I love the Valentine's Day colors. This project is super easy. I just finished this whole thing in less than 2.5 hours. This is the perfect thing to make for somebody as a gift or even to make for yourself. I know I struggle with making things for myself because I don't have a lot of time. So this is a super quick and easy thing you can make for your own kitchen. I really hope you enjoyed this little guide to making this checkered pot holder. This is my first little tutorial, so I just wanted to make it cozy and casual and just kind of like a crochet on the couch on a Saturday morning with me. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. If you like this and you want me to make more videos like this, comment down below. Let me know what I should do next. Also, comment down below what color combos you would like to see in this checkered pot holder, because I have a tan and brown one and now this cute pink and burgundy one. I want to get some more ideas on some color combos because these are super cute and, like I said, super easy and fast. So I can whip these out for markets or whatever. If you end up making this pot holder and you post it on any social media, make sure you tag me at the Loopy Lady. I want to see your guys' color combos and your take on this easy checkered pot holder. But for now, I hope you have a great rest of your day and I will see you in my next video. Bye!